They tied my hand, they tied my feet. They gave me 5 shots, shoved me in the ambulance, and told me I'll get cured.
Well, we need to understand as a nation that this is a mental illness issue, and we cannot keep pushing it aside and pretending it's other than that.
We wouldn't accept it if only half of young people with diabetes got help. Why should we accept it when it comes to mental health?
To me, that's a crime. Our children need help, and we need to provide it for them.
Newtown thrusting the issue of mental illness into the national spotlight.
You talk about the stigma of mental health, that's huge.
It's hard to sit there and watch somebody basically kill himself.
It is a mental illness issue.
One in 17 people in America lives with a serious mental illness. Many of these people must be sent to mental health facilities in order to be properly treated. Recent funding cuts for mental health services have negatively affected these hospitals and their patients. Over a 3-year period, states cumulatively cut more than $1.8 billion from their mental health budgets. During this same time, Maryland cut $26.2 million from its budget. With these cuts, there are not enough beds or staff for all of the patients sent to mental health centers. These situations lead to unstable environments with increased risk of violence. One major problem is that courts inaccurately deem patients mentally unstable. These patients take up beds for patients who need to be in these facilities, and they often cause violent events in these hospitals when they are trying to escape. The 1972 federal court case, Jackson v. Indiana, stated that, quote, such a defendant cannot be held more than the reasonable period of time necessary to determine whether there is a substantial probability that he will attain competency in the foreseeable future. Currently in Maryland, forensic patients, once sent from a court, remain in institutions such as Spring Grove Hospital Center and Clifton T. Perkins Hospital Center, long after the hospitals have asked for their release. There were 267 assaults by patients against other patients and staff in 1 year at Clifton T. Perkins. At Spring Grove, there were 66 assaults against staff in which the victims needed medical attention. Courts and hospitals need to work together to get patients out of facilities as soon as they are ready.
First of all, we have to get America focused on understanding the mental health issues involved with this. For too long, we've ignored it.
However, recent events at Maryland's state mental hospitals have brought this issue to light. Workers at Perkins allege climate of fear and poor inmate treatment.
Perkins Hospital is the maximum security forensic hospital for the state. It is where our most seriously ill and most serious offenders are housed.
In 2011, Dr. Kenneth Applebaum was sent to Clifton T. Perkins Hospital Center to do a report on conditions there. The report came out on January 10, 2012.
He was asked to come in as a consultant to Maryland after there were several tragedies here at Clifton T. Perkins where patients killed other patients, and did a very comprehensive report for Perkins, and then was brought back in to do another report for Spring Grove.
Assaults on staff are focus of scathing report at Catonsville Psychiatric Hospital. Consultant review of Spring Grove blames court system for, quote, lawless environments.
Far too often, a large contributing factor to this recent surge in violence is untreated mental illness. Our nation must bridge the gaps in our current mental health system to avoid more tragedies.
Jackson v. Indiana marked the first time limits were placed on how long a person could be held in an institution without being convicted or diagnosed. Before this ruling, the involuntary commitment of those deemed incompetent to stand trial often meant lifetime confinement in maximum security institutions with little concern for treatment. These people were never tried or convicted of any crime, and there was no further evaluation to determine their mental stability. In order to evaluate competency and stability, courts will place defendants on psychiatric hold.
A psychiatric hold, it means the patients can be taken involuntarily from where they are and to be put in a setting where they're evaluated by specialists in a hospital. So psychiatrists and a multidisciplinary team will evaluate it.
They took me back to the psych evaluation area where they basically ask you a bunch of questions and then they determine if you need to be inpatient, which is being hospitalized for an extended stay, or outpatient.
The problem here is poor communication between the hospitals and the courts. Too often, a judge will inaccurately diagnose a patient, and when the hospitals realize that they are perfectly fine, refuse to take them back.
Often the clinical need and the legal need are not the same. So there may be a court or a judge who is insisting that his case take priority, even though there may be somebody else who is sicker and needs the bed more.
Another problem facing these facilities are funding cuts for mental health services, which have reduced the treatment options for patients.
Do we have enough funding in the areas that can help people get treatment? And is that being used effectively?
Money. Of course, money is a big problem today. We hope things change with the new governor.
We also have many people in our state hospitals who don't really need to be there anymore, but who can't safely be released because there's not enough good community programs.
Well, we have closed state hospitals. We've eliminated what's taking place in terms of treatment alternatives, and that's another barrier for families.
I want to tell you my story. It's about a 47-year-old son of mine who is quite mentally ill.
I'm the mother of a son who is diagnosed with schizoaffective disorder.
I'm the mother of a 43-year-old son diagnosed with schizophrenia as a teenager.
He was taken to the hospital several times, at least 3 times in the last 2 years.
He becomes a target, an outcast, a pariah, a nuisance in his own hometown.